Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today's a special episode. We brought Patrick Lang back onto the show. Finally proud to announce that Patrick's book is live and out there. So a long road to get there. So we got a lot to talk about today. For those that haven't caught some of the previous work that I've done with Patrick, Patrick is founder and CEO over at Certainty Management. He's also a radio show host over at Voice of America Business, and we're going to talk about his show. He's got some big guests coming up. The show's growing like wildfire. And then, of course, the book as well. And then we're going to get into Certainty Management as well. So we got a whole lot to talk about today. But hey, Patrick, I know that was a long intro, man. Your intro just keeps getting longer and longer. But I just want to say, hey, man, welcome back to the show. Great to see you.
Really good to see you, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm pumped to get into your show today over at Voice America and what's going on there, and of course the book. But you already know the drill. We'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute. So Patrick, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Patrick, what mission matters to you?
Well, at Certainty Management, we're a profit consulting firm. So ultimately, it's about helping our clients make more and keep more. We help them drive more dollars to their bottom line. But we also encourage them to give more. We believe in what we call profit with purpose. And so we actually use our cost reduction expertise to help nonprofits raise zero-cost funding. I guess that's our way of giving back. We realized we could do more than just make income. We could actually make a difference as well.
It's great. And great to have you back on the show, Patrick. And I want to kind of still start at the beginning. We'll cover some ground because I don't want to assume that all of our new listeners and new viewers maybe caught some of our previous work together. So maybe just start off with how you got started in business and on this path to launching Certainty Management.
Sure. So I think I was destined to be an entrepreneur. I grew up in a family business. My parents started a franchise with their best friends and started it in the garage and grew it to an office and eventually a very large office in one of the top office buildings or skyscrapers in downtown Salt Lake City. They franchised it all over the country and even had franchisees overseas. And so I grew up with that. I saw them working hard. I heard a quote just the other day that said, an entrepreneur is the only person who will work 100 hours a week so they don't have to work 40 hours a week. And I love that. It's true. You pay the price, hopefully recoup the benefits. But I think we're a little bit of an odd mix, maybe, who want to go through that and work that hard and sacrifice and so forth. But it was in my DNA, I think, thanks to my parents, my grandparents, and so forth.
Yeah. So I want to talk to maybe some of the entrepreneurs that are thinking about, as we go into 2023, tail end of the pandemic, everything's opening up. I mean, a lot of change, a lot of hope going into this new year. What are some of the things that you think that entrepreneurs out there should be thinking about and really should have their mind on as we head into 2023?
I think if you're going to be successful as an entrepreneur, I mean, there's a lot of wannabe entrepreneurs, right? There's a lot of us who try it and fail. Unfortunately, the failure rate is really high when you start your own business. But I think you have to do three things. You have to, one, pick a lane or product, a service, a business that you're passionate about. If you love what you're doing, it doesn't even feel like work. I joke about 100 hours a week. I don't work 100 hours a week usually, but it doesn't feel like work if you're doing something you love. And so I think that's the first thing. Secondly, you've got to surround yourself with professionals who are better at what they do than you are. I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer in hiring professionals. That's why I didn't finish my own basement. I didn't put in my own sprinkling system. I don't do my own taxes. You have to surround yourself by not only professionals and experts, but mentors, because they can shorten your learning curve. At our company, we have an internal communication app that we built called Certainty Connect. And I tell everyone, if you have a question, put it in the app so everyone sees the question, everyone sees the answer. That's something personal, right? But if it's a training question, put it out because it accelerates everyone's learning curve. And so that's it's kind of along the same lines of helping each other and growing. And then third, you have to be open to input. It goes right in line with surrounding yourself with those who know more than you, who've been there before, because they can shorten your learning curve, but only if you'll listen, right? I've been a sales trainer for most of my life, sales manager, director of sales, and so forth. And one of the hardest things for salespeople to remember is that they have two ears and one mouth, and many of them have an ego. And if you want to do well, want to succeed, you've got to listen. You've got to listen to those around you, those who know more, those who've been down that path ahead of you. If you do that, you're going to increase your odds immeasurably.
Come on, Patrick, you came with the content today. I'm loving it. I want to jump around a bit here. Let's dive into this book, the long-awaited, finally out. So your content. So finding certainty through accountability and collaboration. What was the inspiration for this?
It goes along with exactly what I was just saying, that you can't do it alone. I mean, no man is an island, right? No woman is an island. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to create a successful business. Even if you're a solopreneur, and there's a lot of them out there, nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I wish I was a solopreneur. When you have to deal with people and manage and partners and so forth, that can be complicated. But it's a really important principle that you have to surround yourself with a tribe, with those who support you. I'll give you a good example. I was a part of Vistage for a long time. It's this international, mentoring group. And what I loved about it was that I went once a month and met with other CEOs who were unbiased, and yet they cared about my success. So they could give me unbiased feedback. They could tell me what I needed to hear, right? Yeah. And they had decades and decades of success, but they really helped me in getting better at what I did. Sometimes we're too close to it, right? And we're in the mix of it. We're in the trenches, and so having that feedback, that honest feedback, especially from those who mentors or coaches or whatever who are unbiased but care, or they're being paid to help you. One of the two, they hopefully they care as well, but they can make a really great difference, an enormous difference, and can accelerate your learning curve and get you there faster. Why make the same mistakes that others have made if you don't have to, right? That's why we should be reading books from experts in the field. We should be, watching YouTube videos, going to workshops, seminars, because they can accelerate our path. And that is it's a big piece of it. But if we don't listen to them, we're never going to get there.
So one of the things that you talk about in the book is really modeling accountability as a way of life, and really a life principle. So, as we've been talking about it, and I've seen the success of your radio show and to see its growth. And I think about a lot of many others that have, tried to do, podcasts, YouTube channels, other things like that. And maybe they're just not consistent, or there's other things that keep them from continuing on. And when I think about like your writing and some of your philosophy on accountability and moving forward, to me, it's inspiring, but also it's kind of like some of this stuff, it's not a secret, right? Like, do what you say you're going to do, right? Like be right. Accountable. Like what has accountability meant in your life?
I've never claimed to have all the answers. And I've had some really phenomenal mentors. I put a whole list of people I acknowledged in the book that I'm grateful to for the lessons that I've learned from them. Some of the very best examples were some of the most talented, accomplished, wealthy people that I know. And yet they were also, in many cases, not always, but in many cases, and I would even say most cases, they were also the most humble and teachable people I've met. I'll give you one example. I worked for a multimillionaire in Anchorage, Alaska years ago, one of my first sales jobs. He owned an enormous petroleum company, and he also owned a little teeny advertising agency. And I went to work for him at the ad agency, and he kind of joked with us that it was his creative outlet, but financial genius, very wealthy, very successful, very respected. But he was open to input, and he had an open door policy. He constantly told us, if you see anything you think I could be doing better, we could be doing better, I want to hear it. And that was a great lesson for me that, I learned at a very young age. But always try to remember that. I don't do it perfectly, but that's a big piece of it. Like I said, having got two ears and one mouth. Too often, especially as you grow in business, you get more successful. Maybe you start making money finally, and so forth. The ego grows with it, right? And you think you know everything. But if you remember that principle, I learned his name was Rocky Brew, and I learned a very valuable lesson from him that I've always tried to remember.
So another big point that you make in the book, and this one, as I was kind of reading through it, it's really taking an ownership mindset. And when I think about like early on in my career, let's say before I was technically an owner, before I became an entrepreneur, any of the other things like that, whatever all the labels are, I always had this entrepreneurial mindset to where it didn't matter what task you gave me. Like I wanted to own it. Like maybe it's just, I don't like people coming back to me and saying I did a bad job, or I don't like being the weak link in a chain, or the one that drops the ball, however we want to word that. Right. But to me, like taking somebody that takes the ownership mindset in anything they do, I don't care how menial the task, versus somebody that kind of goes through the motions or the day, they're night and day. Like it's a completely different experience, not just an output, not only work, not only attitude, job satisfaction, or entrepreneurial satisfaction. It's just two different lives, like two different ways of thinking.
That's absolutely right. I worked for a company several years ago in Portland, Oregon, a company named Leaf Guard Northwest. And when I came in, they hired me as the manager wanted to hire me as the sales manager, director of sales. But I said, would you consider just hiring me as a salesperson first? Put me in the field. Let me kind of come in incognito and fly under the radar and learn the job and earn my stripes. I knew if he had guys who'd been there for 10, 15, 20 years on the sales team. And if he had brought me in from the outside, it would have been a hard uphill battle. But I said, let me go out and sell first, because I'd never done what they did. They were in the remodeling industry. It wasn't my background. And anyway, within 2 months, I was the top rep. Within 6 months, I was number one in the country. He then promoted me, and it was a really easy transition because they were already coming to me saying, what are you doing? How can you go on a ride along with me? We took that company from $3.5 million a year to $7.5 million to $15.8 million.
Wow.
$20 million in about a 3-year period. We jumped from $3.5 million to $20 million a year, and the number one office in the country out of 65 offices. I say all that to say this: we did it primarily by getting every person in that company, in that office, to have this ownership mindset. We got production and sales working together. We give out awards every month for whoever most, best demonstrated being an owner, taking ownership of things. Yeah. And I believe not only does it work, not only does it definitely increases production. And we saw it. I've seen it happen more than once in my life. This is just one good example. But I believe that when employees or team members catch that vision and they start to apply it through your example and delegation and encouragement, they love their job. They come to gain so much more satisfaction out of it, and so much more reward, and just personal pride, and it's hard to describe, because they're not truly owners. Nobody, none of us owned the company, but we had that ownership mindset and approach and teamwork, and it was incredible.
Talk to me about surrounding yourself with people that are, better than you, or have other insights, or that talk to me about surrounding yourself really with the right team.
Well, it's not hard to do. I mean, most people are better at what they do than I am. I have my strengths. We all have our skill set, right? Whether we're a great speaker or trainer, maybe we're good at sales, maybe we're more, talented with our hands, and maybe our it's like my son, he's my oldest son. He's a perfect example of kind of like the absent-minded professor. He's a physicist and he has a double degree in physics and math, and he works for Intel. He and I are totally different, right? His last thing in the world he'd want to do is work in sales and marketing. But if you realize where your strengths are and focus on them, and then recognize and admit where your weaknesses are,
Mhm.
and then search for those who have those strengths, the strengths that you don't have. It takes some time. It's trial and error. You have to go through a process of kind of, getting to know people and testing them. Some work, some don't. So it does take time. But I firmly believe that if you're open to having that help, if you don't act and come across and say that you have all the answers, that's the first step. You have to be open to that input and that help. And then when you find it, you have to treat them like a partner. Whether they are truly a partner in your business, they're a partner in your success. And you have to treat them with that deference and that respect, and that you have to ask for their input. You have to give them, you have to learn how to delegate. You have to give them the latitude and the room to fail, to fall short, and understand it's probably going to happen without, and be ready for it. It's just this combination of finding them, supporting them, and helping them. In our business, we're very much a connector company. We pique interest, we pass the baton to our different vendors we work with, and we get out of the way. I say PPG, peak, pass, and get out of the way, right? We got to do the same thing with the experts in our lives. We work with them, we pass the baton to them, and get the heck out of their way. And don't try to micromanage them, right? When you micromanage people and you don't give them the room to succeed or to fail, or sending the message that you don't trust them, you don't respect them, and it'll actually create resistance and maybe even some resentment, and you just can't go there. It's a recipe for disaster rather than a recipe for success.
So, Patrick, I think that's a great transition. Let's get into certainty management with some of the time we have here today. So, you mentioned a little bit, but I want to go further. So, tell us a little bit more about what the company does.
So, at our heart, we're a cost reduction firm. Is where we started. We've expanded over the years. We refer to ourselves as an efficiency firm or a profit consulting firm. We do that in a number of different ways. It's all about helping our clients make more and keep more income, drive more dollars to their bottom line. We encourage them to give more as well. I'm a firm believer that if you're not giving back in some way, you're missing the point. You're not taking advantage of the opportunity to put a dent in the universe, right? To make a difference and leave a legacy. I think you shortchange yourself. Karma is a real thing. They say you put it out there, it's going to come back to you tenfold. I firmly believe that. And if you don't understand that and don't remember that as a business owner, you're so busy focused on your business, you don't have time to serve or to give back. I think you're actually shortchanging yourself or cutting yourself off at the knees. So we're an efficiency firm. We help our clients put dollars back on their bottom line. We do this in a number of different ways. We teach what we call a smart profit approach. The SMART is an acronym. It stands for safety and security. Stands for marketing. We do a free marketing analysis. The safety part, we provide very low cost benefits. We have a security division. We do a free marketing analysis, a review. We analyze their costs. We look at, are they taking advantage of tax credits that are available to them, like the employee retention tax credit? We provide several different resources that can improve recruiting and retention for our customers. There's a killer. If you're not attracting people and keeping people, that's a problem. It's going to kill your profits. And then finally, the T stands for tools. There's several different tools. We're a lender as well. So we provide business credit, business financing, other technology tools, and so forth, all of which are designed to help them be more efficient and more profitable. As I said, we use all of that combined to help the nonprofits in our circle, to help them raise funding. We don't charge them anything for that service. We realized we could do more than just do business, but we could actually do some good in the process.
And so I find it interesting that you've chosen to focus on and help the nonprofit segment and do it really in a unique way. Like how did that come about?
I was sitting at a dinner in the top of the mountains in Utah, looking out over Salt Lake Valley, visiting with the development director of a nonprofit named Operation Underground Railroad. And I attribute it to him because we were talking to him about how we could lower his costs. And, if we can save you $200,000, that's as good as a donation of $200,000. And we thought that was pretty good. He said, I think you're scratching the surface of what you could do. He said, you could use what you're good at, go to the nonprofits. Sure, help them save what you can using what you do. But imagine how much money you could raise for them if they referred you to their networks. You go do the work and you donate a portion of that back to them as well. And we do.
Wow.
We actually give 50% of any savings we provide, any revenue or any income we receive. We give 50% of it to the nonprofits that refer us to their clientele. It could be their donors or their board of directors, boosters, whoever. So this is a new program for us. I wish I could say we've been doing it for 10 years. We haven't. It's our baby. It's our baby that we're trying to get out of the crib. But but it's founded in principles that have been proven for years. You know, I can go into any company especially a larger organization, for example, analyze their contract for their imaging contracts, their printer and copier leases. I can show them how to cut that in half. We save them 30 to 60% on average, just in that one area. It can be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in just one space, in one part of their business. You can make a very good income off of that. And we turn around and donate half of it back to the nonprofits. They can't believe it. And it's big. You know, it's not Amazon Smile with 1 or 2% or 0.5%. Yeah. It's a big deal. We tell the nonprofits that we can help them literally raise unlimited zero-cost funding, and we do it in several different ways. But it's probably the part of our business that I'm most excited about.
Yeah, it's creating. There's just layers of wins there, because the nonprofit wins because obviously they get a portion of it. Certainty Management wins because obviously you get a portion of it. But then the businesses, I mean, you're finding lost money. So this money they were already like losing. So using your example, if you come in on a particular device, whether it's, copier services or whatever it is, and you're saving them, 30, 40, 50%, whatever the amount is, that's new money for them. Like that's money that's not going out as an expense. So now they have the win. So these are just layers of wins, right? Am I missing something?
No, you're exactly right, Adam. We tell customers all the time that there are millions of dollars out there waiting to be found, waiting to be recovered. And we know how to go and get them their share. It's free money. In fact, we don't charge anything. We charge the nonprofits zero for the help. But even the clients, we don't charge them anything up front or out of pocket. They don't have to switch vendors. They don't have to pay us a fee in advance. We do the work. We save them. Whatever it is, they keep typically 70%. In some cases, it's a 50-50 split, depending on the product. But they don't have to pay anything until we get paid. Our biggest focus lately, because it's a temporary program, it's only going to last for a couple more years, but is the Employee Retention Tax Credit, where we can help any business with up to 500 employees, W-2 employees, to receive up to $26,000 per employee. It's a payroll tax refund. It's tied to the COVID CARES Act. And they pay nothing up front for it. They pay nothing out of pocket. We work on contingency. And I mean, you imagine even a small business with 10 employees, they could get $250,000 back because of the payroll tax refund, some healthcare expense refunds, and some other things we do. And so that's a big focus right now. It's going to expire in the next couple of years. It's a temporary program, but it's one more way we're helping businesses to recover funds that are theirs. They're sitting there waiting for them. It's one way for us to help nonprofits raise funding with funds that are free to them and free to us. And we just use our expertise to do it. And it's extraordinary.
And I think you answered my question, but I want to make sure I heard it right. So you work with, everything from large companies to, enterprise level, all the way to, as you just gave an example of a business owner that, maybe has 10 employees. First off, am I hearing that correctly? Second off, is there any particular industries or agnostic on that front? Like, give us a little bit of an idea for, what types of companies you can add value to.
Sure. We do a number of different things, and some are better for small business, some are better for bigger businesses and larger corporations. The ERC, the Employee Retention Credit, is only for companies with up to 500 W-2 employees. They had to have had employees during COVID. They can't have more than 500. We just found a solar group that's got 4 different entities. They have 460 employees between them. And we're going to get them $8 million even after our fee. I mean, that's a it's a nice payout, right? That they didn't have yesterday and that today they will. We can help all the way down to companies with one employee in that space. On the cost reduction analysis, we can help much larger organizations, credit unions, law firms, hospitals, universities. Think about everybody who has printers and copiers. You'll start noticing them on every desk, and they're a very expensive item. It's an unregulated industry, so there's no real checks or balances. That's the other end of the spectrum. Those are the big organizations. We have several different things in between that we do. We offer benefits for small businesses, for really of any size, but benefit programs as low as $30 a month that even a 1099 can get, or a sole proprietor, or a volunteer part-time employee. So we really cover the gamut. There's not necessarily a niche or a specific space we work in. It's all about putting dollars back in their pockets. And we do help smaller ones. Depending on the space, we have a wholesale travel division that can work for large organizations and associations and so forth on the other end. But it's kind of a wide swath of business types that we can serve. Just depends on which service or product we're focusing on.
So switching it up a bit here, Patrick, I also need to spend some time on your show. I mean, how many episodes in? So your radio show on Voice America, how many episodes in are you at?
So you and I, the last interview we did, I was just starting. I think it was.
Yeah, I remember. Week. That's why I'm like, it's growing. Your show.
And so it's been about 6 months. I was invited to start a show on Voice America after being a guest on one. And they loved our model. They said, what would you talk about? And I said, I believe we need to focus on the fact that businesses need to evolve. They need to consider new relationships, new technologies, new approaches. That was the first part. And the second is we need to work together. We need to link arms, look past our differences, and focus on what we have in common. And so the show is called Finding Certainty. It's on Voice America Business, as you mentioned. And we're 24 episodes in. It's a weekly show every Friday at 9 a.m. I was recently told it's actually one of the fastest shows on Voice America. If you go to voiceamerica.com, my picture is the first one. Our banner is right
amazing
on their main page. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm having a blast. I mean, it's just an interview show. We have some big guests coming up, and you were actually one of the flagship guests, if you remember.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm excited, and I mean, I know you got it, and you care about the show, you care about the questions, the guests, you make them feel great, you create great content, ask thoughtful questions. So to me, I just know it's going to continue to be successful and continue to grow, and the audience is going to continue to grow larger than it already is. And it does not surprise me to hear that your banner and you're number one on the site right now in terms of like the promo, and that they're putting their horses behind you and putting that backing behind you in promo and otherwise, because you deserve it, and you're out there working, and you're also in the business community actually doing. So I feel like all of those things are a recipe for success. Over 24 episodes in, what's one of your favorite things about hosting a radio show?
It's a lot of work, because you have to find the guests, schedule them, confirm, prep them. You have to write the episode description and so forth, and then actually do the show. But I think my favorite thing is getting to know these guests and understand what really makes them tick, what's made them successful. There's different definitions of certainty. How do you find certainty in your life? And it's a pretty broad subject, I guess. But I love having a weekly opportunity to dig deep and pull back the layers of the artichoke to get to that heart of that artichoke. And these guests we've had are some of the best in the business at what they do. And so I'm learning a lot. I guess that's probably my favorite thing. But I remember when I first met with the general manager, was referred to him as a potential host. I asked him, do I have to be like Frank Hellring was the one that interviewed me first and recommended me to them. And he and I have become best friends. But we are total opposites, right? He's loud and outspoken, political. I'm totally the other end of the spectrum. But Robert Cellino, who's the general manager of Voice America, he says, all you have to be is authentic. He says, be yourself. That's what we want. That's what the listener. I think that goes hand in hand with accountability. Be real with people. When you screw up, admit it. If you made a mistake, take responsibility. You will earn more respect from your colleagues and your employees and your partners if you admit when you're wrong than you ever will trying to pretend like, trying to cover it up or pretend like you didn't. And so, just be real, be authentic, be honest. It goes a long, long ways. Even when someone else is ragging on another person or gossiping, one of the best advices I ever heard was to turn to that person and say, you should go talk to them about it. That's what I and you'll learn, you gain mad success or mad respect when you do that.
And am I correct in hearing, did a little birdie tell me that you're also hosting another show now? Am I off on that? Or like, I think you got another one going. I'm like, come on, I can't keep up with you and all the content you got going out.
I know. I wish we were better at social media. We have never really done much with social media because most of our business is word of mouth. We've never really needed to market it. But there are definitely ripple effects. And, I attribute a lot of it to you, Adam. I mean, I was invited to be a part of Mission Matters Volume 8. The radio show happened right after that. I was invited to be on one of the top podcasts in the world, top 1% podcast done by the Strategic Advisor Board Group. And I had them on my show shortly thereafter. And then they invited me to be a part of a daily YouTube channel that they have. It's running 24/7. It's a live YouTube channel. And they said they asked for volunteer. They basically asked if I would be willing to commit to a year of daily videos.
Wow!
And it's not an interview; it's just a video of me talking. I share insights into my life, our story, our business, my time in the military, failures, successes, and so forth. But I've done, I think, 55 episodes now of that, and we're only 10 weeks into it. So it's 5 days a week. And it seems to be well received, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, I love speaking, and I enjoy public speaking and so forth. But I attribute a lot of that to you because you were one of the first pebbles in the pond that started those ripple effects and started getting our story out a little bit better as you guys do so well.
Well, hey, I appreciate the acknowledgement, but you took any little inspiration we gave and you ran with it, man. I'm talking about a second show coming out, and I'm like, or already out, and you've done quite a few episodes there. What's the format of that one? I'm curious. Is it live? Is it recorded then released? Like, what's the show length? Like, I haven't had a chance to check that one out yet.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to it. It's it's just a little short 3 to 4 minute, maybe 5 minutes at the most, lesson from a leader. Okay, similar to Mission Matters. The Mission Matters, the way I've explained it to people is it's a collection of lessons from CEOs whose companies are making a difference. Well, this is kind of the same thing, but it's on a daily basis. They're little 4 or 5 minute snapshots. I've talked about, as I said, my time in the Army, business I grew up in, one of my first sales jobs, that success we had in Portland that I talked about, sales lessons I've learned, marriage lessons. I mean, every week I kind of pick a topic and I do 5 videos surrounding that topic that kind of build on each other. Between you and me, I usually shoot about 15 or 20 of them at a time and then post like a month's worth. So it's not as hard as it sounds, but it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Amazing. Well, Patrick, I just have to say I'm excited to continue to watch your career flourish, not just in business, but I mean, in the content you're creating. Of course, you're, business side of that. You've been doing that a long time and you're helping a lot of businesses and business owners and entrepreneurs out there. Also, your baby, as you call it, program where you're helping nonprofits. I just think it's definitely cutting edge, and you're taking it a step further in terms of what can be done in the nonprofit space by creating those 3 wins: the win for the nonprofit, the win obviously for the business, certainty management, then also the businesses you're helping by finding them, money that's already there, that's lost money, that's money that's on the table that they don't even know yet. So you're creating a lot of wins there. Just have to ask, what's next for you? We're going to 2023. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for the businesses?
Part of what we do to help our businesses find more certainty is we are a lender. We provide business capital, supply chain funding, and business credit and the likes. One of my partners, Brian Pointer, is one of the finest lenders in the country, and he really spearheads that for us. But we're getting into that more and more. We're getting opportunities to joint venture in projects and put together investors with projects, lend money or find funding. And that I think will be a big focus for us this next year. We've got a couple of really big projects we're helping with, an Africa import project, a battery technology project, et cetera. And so that's a big piece, but I believe our biggest revenue source this year will be our small business benefits. There's 50 million Americans out there that are underinsured or uninsured, and it's usually because they can't afford it. And we have solutions for that. We have benefits, as I said, as little as $30 a month for the entire family. Gives them access to telemedicine doctors and dental and vision discounts, prescription. If they want to spend $100 a month, they can go see a primary care physician, pay a $10 copay. Or urgent care, $25. So we've put together programs that anyone can afford, even a single parent working minimum wage, part-time even. They can afford something for their kids. We have options all the way up to full coverage, but it's about providing a continuum of care so that everyone has at least some coverage. Even if they can't afford a full-blown, insurance policy, they can have something. Take their kid to the doctor when they have a runny nose or something like that. And so those two areas will be our biggest focus of everything we do. I believe they'll be the biggest revenue producers this year, just because there's such a demand in both areas, both for funding and for coverage, for benefits. Hands down, it will be enormous, largely because we're partnering with large organizations and resellers that are opening up their doors to us because they have a real need.
Amazing. And if somebody wants to connect and follow your journey, listen to the show, obviously connect with Certainty Management and your team there, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. They can listen to a Finding Certainty show just by going to www.certaintylive.com. That'll take you right to the channel. And it's a live radio show, but then the episodes are all posted to all the channels, all the podcast channels later, like iHeart and Spotify and Google, Apple, etc. You can find us on the web at certaintyteam.com, or you can just text the word certainty to 26786, and we'll send you some information about what we do.
Amazing. And we'll put all that information in the show notes so that our audience can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time listening to a Mission Matters episode or engaging with the platform, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and experts and having them share their mission, the reason behind their mission, really why they do what they do, and how they're making a difference in the marketplace. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or exciting to you, hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Patrick, again, so thrilled to hear about your show, the growth. I'm going to continue to be a fan and to listen to it. And I'm excited to get into that YouTube one as well that you just started. Haven't checked that one out yet, but I absolutely will be. And we'll put all those links in the show notes as I mentioned before. And Patrick, thanks again. It's been awesome reconnecting with you. And I look forward to continuing the book promo with you as well.
Always a pleasure, Adam. You're a great example to me of someone who's doing it right, and we're just trying to keep up with you, man. So, thanks for having me again, and always a pleasure.